Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jungle Cincinnati Bengals podcast, brought to you by Blue Wire and the folks at the Riverfront. Today is Tuesday, September 30th. My name is Owen Timmerding, alongside Caroline Palmer and Caroline. The Cincinnati Bengals are dead.
Yeah, right now it just seems like they are, if I use like an analogy, it's like they're barely floating above the water and the life raft is sinking.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something I usually don't pay attention to meme pages and I don't bring them up, but I saw something and it kind of made sense. It was like Joe Burrow should be the first person in NFL history to ever win MVP without playing in a single game this year because you can see how valuable he is to this team, and it is really starting to show on an offense that shouldn't be falling off this hard without a quarterback when you still have a whole bunch of star power in that side of the ball.
Yeah, so we're speaking about the Cincinnati Bengals get embarrassed on Monday Night Football, losing 28-3 to the Denver Broncos. It was a game where I think the Bengals got exposed after getting exposed in Minnesota for lack of preparation and lack of offensive efficiency and lack of production on all sides of the ball. You think they'd come back firing a little bit more. On the first drive, they drove down the field and had a 60 or so yard field goal drive. I think they maybe would have, should have, could have gone for it. That's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
And that ends up being the lone 3 points the Bengals score in this one. The Broncos ended up outscoring the Bengals 28-0 the rest of this game with touchdowns in the first quarter again, and then two more in the second, and then nothing in the third. And they kind of scored a garbage time touchdown in the fourth quarter to put this game to rest. But Caroline, like we said this before, this feels like a culmination of all the things that the Bengals have wrong going for them right now in life without Joe Burrow. And number one to me consistently is this team is never, ever prepared.
Yeah, I'm honestly
Yeah,
sitting here wondering what they do during practice at the
nothing.
week
They practice penalties and
because
punts.
because yeah, about penalties and punts seems to be the only two things that they can execute on right now. Um, the biggest thing that I'd have to say is, and I'm going to give props, the Denver Broncos the last 2 years have had one of the best defenses in the league. And in terms of pass defense, because that's what they're going to have to force the Bengals to do because we have our opinions on the offensive line. I think their secondary did a great job of locking down Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for the most part last
Yeah.
night. And so I'm not going to take that away. The Broncos are one of the best defensive units in football. I'm not going to act like this was an easy task for Browning at all. But there was hardly any offense last night. Like, and to me, like, that is where I get the most concerned. Browning barely eclipsed 125 passing yards, and when you look at rushing yards, it's 60. That's not enough offense. Bo Nix himself out through that
Yeah.
out of our entire Bengals offense. Like, to me, I'm like, I get it. Your star guy is not there. I understand. And I think now more than ever, I think more people are understanding how good of a player Joe Burrow is, especially in this system. But you have two wide receivers that you just paid a crap ton of money for. Chase Brown, who's supposed to be this elite running back based on what people are telling us about him. I know Jake Browning is no Joe Burrow, and I think everyone, including Jake Browning himself, knows that. I'm really struggling to figure out here why they have gone from explosive offense to can't get to 200 total yards in a game basically overnight. It's happened 2 weeks in a row now. And if there should have been panic alarms last week, the panic alarms should be around every single facility in that building this week because offensively, it is not good enough. And there's no other way for me to say that. There's no sugarcoating it. There's no me being nice about it. It is just not good enough from what should be a top 3 offensive unit in the league.
I'm going to keep going back to this preparedness part. I think you brought up a really good point that Denver has one of the best defenses of the last couple of years. They have the reigning defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain, but you know this stuff.
Yeah, it's
You
public
have to
knowledge.
find a way to get the best receiver, Jamar Chase, open. You have to find a way to mix it up a little bit. You knew Pat Surtain was going to be on him. This wasn't some surprise, and it
No.
looked like the Bengals were surprised the whole time. Like, why isn't this working? Why isn't the 3rd and 2 fade working? Like what? T. Higgins had some good plays, honestly, that then they were called back because of penalties, illegal formations. Amarius Mims has looked lost this year. He was the Bengals' first round pick 2 years ago, and he had some really bright spots shown in his rookie season, but he's looked a shell of himself in this second one. He's getting pre-snap penalties. He doesn't know where to go. He's getting beat off the edge. He's supposed to be an elite talent. And again, we said this last week, and it's worth bringing up again. The scheme is hurting these offensive linemen. The scheme is hurting these offensive linemen because Amarius Mims is probably good. Orlando
Mhm.
is probably good. Like you can say these, they got beat off the edge so many times last night. There's a great picture I saw where the Bengals had three guys on the Broncos defensive tackle, and Orlando Brown and Mims were both getting beat off the edge, and it resulted in a sack. It's a really overhead shot. I'm sure people have seen it. If that doesn't sum up how this Bengals offensive line has operated in the last 5 years, I don't know what else does. It's
Yeah.
unreal how little this team seems ready to go every single time they take the field. Every time. It's unbelievable how little it looks like they practice. You knew the environment was going to be tough in Minnesota. You knew the environment was going to be tough in Denver. You know these things going in, and I don't think it's an excuse. Zac Taylor said, well, we played in two of the toughest run environments in the NFL. I don't care. I don't care. You shouldn't care about that.
Mhm.
You prepare for where you're going, and the Bengals never, ever do that.
Honestly, you wanna know what it looked like to me? Last week against Minnesota, you can argue that Isaiah Rodgers won that game for the Minnesota Vikings. To me, it looked like that entire coaching staff, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Zac Taylor, went to the locker room, goes, okay, we got beat by one player. We're going to run the exact same scheme next week and see what happens. And this week, they got beat by an entire defensive unit.
Yeah.
It looks like they made no changes because they were like, oh, it's just an exception. Isaiah Rodgers arguably had the best game a cornerback has ever had in the NFL against us last week. Let's just stick to what we know. What you know is not working
Mm-hmm.
because they are trying to run the Joe Burrow scheme without Joe Burrow, and it is failing their receivers. It is failing their linemen. It is failing Jake Browning. And honestly, to me at this point, I know everybody is talking about, oh, Zac Taylor should be on the hot seat. Zac Taylor should be on the hot seat. I'm also looking at Dan Pritchard. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. It is horrible because you can see how much those two rely on Joe Burrow. And I'm not going to relate this to Belichick Brady in any way, but everybody knows how Belichick's kind of end of his NFL career went after Tom Brady left the Patriots. You are seeing it live right now with the Bengals. You still have a very talented roster, but your guy that you don't even build the system around Joe Burrow. It's very easily known that Joe Burrow had to fight tooth and nail for pretty much everything he got last year. But now that he's gone, your entire whatever your plan was has thrown out the window, and right now they are trying to put out a fire with air. Believe it or
Mm-hmm.
not, air does not put out fire. It's only actually going to spread it, and that's what it looks like right now.
I got some takeaways. You want to hear them?
Go ahead.
So we sat on this podcast 2 weeks ago and said how we felt good about Jay Browning coming in, how we think he's probably a better than most of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL. That's not been true, and here's why.
Yeah.
The Bengals had a much better run game in 2023, which opens up we've said this before, it opens up the whole field. Joe Mixon was great after Burrow went down a couple years ago, and he helped to take a lot of pressure off of Jake Browning and then opened up the whole field because he was a run threat. Chase
Mhm.
Brown, I don't even know if you can blame him at this point. I actually
I
thought he had
don't
a couple
blame him.
decent, yeah, I think he actually had
He's
a couple decent runs yesterday from what I watched,
yeah.
but it's just not enough to get anything going.
Mm-mm.
Like, and so then you know exactly what Jake Browning is going to do, and then that allows you to scheme it because you know he's going to pass it. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work.
And even then, what he's known for is his accuracy and his completion percentage. He was under 50% for most of the night last night.
Yeah,
That's what he's supposed to be good at, and he's not even executing there.
yeah.
Like I said this to you right before we got on the pod. I think I'm psychic. because I am now seeing other Bengals fans out in the universe make the same call that I did last week. So you heard it from me first. Jameis, or
Mhm.
someone who can throw deep balls, because that is what Jamar Chase is good at. That is what's going to open up the field for T. Higgins. That's going to open up the field for Gesicki or Noah Fant or one of these people in the middle of the park. But you don't even have that option because Jake Browning is not even looking to throw those deep
Yeah.
balls. And, like, to me,
Um,
I'm like, something has to change, and to me, it has to be the quarterback at this point.
I think I agree with what you just said. I think another thing that's interesting is Taylor hasn't lost the locker room yet. I feel like it's close. There's a cool. There's a. I mean, cool. I don't know why I just said that, but there's a visual during the game, and it's Jamar Chase
Yep.
conversing with Taylor after a frustrating 3-and-out.
It
After
didn't
the
even look like
defensive
conversing.
stand, yeah, and it was definitely Jamar Chase just voicing his opinion on the matter, and Taylor doesn't say anything. He kind of just says, "Okay, okay," and pushes him away.
Mhm.
So then you think like, listen, I think Jamar Chase is pretty aggravated on how this whole year has worked out. He's obviously not had the numbers that he wants because he relies so much on that connection with Burrow.
Yeah.
I never think it's a good look when the best player you have available is frustrated with your head coach. Here's the other thing too: is the Bengals are not going to fire Zac Taylor midseason. They
Mm-mm.
don't do that. I think there's also a world where they don't fire him at all until next season, after next year,
Mhm.
because the Bengals don't want to eat dead money, and his contract runs through 2026.
Yeah,
So
they'll
there's
also
that too.
use the Joe Burrow excuse too.
Mm-hmm. They'll use that,
It'll
and then you risk losing out on probably some more exciting names in the desirable job option for a Joe Brady, for a Brian Flores, who you
Mhm.
assume are both going to be available this offseason. And I mean, there's jobs that open up every year. You
Yeah.
see 7 to 8, 8 to 10 jobs open up every offseason. And like the Bengals probably are in need of a new voice. I
Yeah.
was texting my friends earlier, it's probably time to look at trading Trey Hendrickson. It's time to honestly look at trading T. Higgins. He is the
Mhm.
Bengals' only valuable asset in all of this. And I hate saying that because I love T. And I was
Yeah.
very happy that he's a part of the team. But if you're looking to make some sort of move that opens up the rest of your paycheck and you can make some stuff happen around you, that's probably someone you can look to move on from. And it's no one's fault. It's
Mm-mm.
just a football move. And
Yeah.
I'm not calling for T. Higgins to leave because I want him to stay on the Bengals and play out his
No.
contract. I'm saying that's an option if the
Yeah.
Bengals so pursue, because we're just talking this all out. Like,
Mhm.
so in my opinion, everything's on the table now for the Bengals. The Bengals core is Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. And to a certain extent, it's just Joe Burrow. I think you got to give the core a shot with a new head coach. Just see
Yeah.
how it works. Because it's real, like, it's if they've taken Zac Taylor, who, again, said this last week, and I just keep seeing this everywhere. His time in Cincinnati has been great, but it just seems like it's not working anymore. And he probably wasn't qualified to have the Bengals job in 2019 when he got hired, and he still is here. And he's outlived probably most of his what people imagine how long he'd be here.
Yeah, I think so too. I was looking at some of the things that some of the players said in the post press conference, and I'll kind of transition into talking
Yeah.
about the very few bright spots that we had. I'll kind of end it with Jake Browning. Jake Browning said, like, talking about how this offense kind of gets back into where they need to go. And the thing that I don't like about what he said is that they need to try to figure out what their identity on offense is. So they have no idea who they are right now. And you can visibly see that in the last 2 weeks that they genuinely don't know who they are. And you saw a glimpse of it week 2 and week 1. but it got saved because you have a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback back there in Joe Burrow that everyone in the league is afraid of. And you can tell the difference of when teams have played the Joe Burrow Bengals versus when they've played the Jake Browning Bengals. You can tell they are afraid with what Joe Burrow would have done with the football. So the fact that they don't know their identity on offense, to me, I'm like a little bit like that's a little bit of a red flag for me. But when you hear some of these guys on defense, and this is where I can get a little bit of positivity out of this. They talked to Demetrius Knight and Dax Hill, who we have said were probably the two bright spots in a really bad game last night. And Dax Hill said, all we can do as a unit is take it week by week and prepare to get a win next week. And Demetrius Knight said, it is still early. Our defense is not defeated yet. We're going back to the drawing board, just as a lot of teams are still going to do. We are still on the climb and still on the journey to get to the top. There's two completely different mindsets in that locker room right now, and it is visible as day just listening to those guys speak. And honestly, we went into this year thinking that the side that looks better right now is going to be the problem.
Yeah. And they haven't even been great, to be quite honest. I think they played a good second half yesterday, but they just let up so many. They missed so many tackles. So many tackles. It's super frustrating. There was a couple of plays last night where Logan Wilson shifted into coverage. Like, I don't really know how, like, what we're doing with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, God,
the front four were not great either last night.
Listen to this. I pulled this from Twitter, a good account, Gridiron Grading. Miles Murphy, first-round pick. Chris Jenkins, day 2 pick. Joseph Osai, second-round pick. Cam Sample, day 2 pick, I believe. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, people online. The 4 of them, they're all big guys. The Bengals have invested a lot of capital in to improve
over the offseason, most of them,
over the last 3 years. The 4 of them combined to have 43 pass rushes in the first half. How many wins do you think they had? Pass rush wins.
I'm going to go with under 10. That's my guess.
0.
Well, I was just saying they couldn't even get to the quarterback last night.
Not at all.
Nix was maybe pressured twice in that game last night where he actually looked like he was afraid in the pocket. And I know Shamar Stewart is out, but I don't know how much of a difference that makes. I really don't.
The Bengals don't have any interior pass rush help.
And what was crazy to me is we went on here going, okay, we think the front 4 looks good. We think they're going to be what's happening. We're a little bit worried about that secondary because we don't really know what they're doing with it. And if anything, the secondary has been covering the front 4 for most of this year. Besides Cam Taylor-Britt, the secondary has been doing what they're supposed to do. So props to the secondary because I think we all were slagging on them in the offseason, basically all of last year. And those guys are stepping up when a lot of other people aren't. We talked about Dax Hill, who I thought was the best player on the Bengals last night. And Demetrius Knight obviously got his first interception. That was a big-time play from him as well.
That was a cool play.
It was a very cool play, very cool way to get first interception. But, like, if I'm looking at it and I'm on the offensive or defensive side of the ball and I'm looking at 2 really young players who look like the leaders right now, that's a little bit concerning to me as a watcher, as a fan, as somebody who wants them to do well. Granted, you can be a leader in any way, shape, or form. I've been on plenty of teams in my life to know that you don't have to be a captain to be a leader. Leadership comes in plays and moments in the way you communicate. But a rookie shouldn't be the person leading the charge. Like, especially if you're not round 1, pick 1 as a quarterback. That's the one exception I will give in football because the quarterback is always a leader. But your rookies should not be the people who are leading that locker room. They do not have the experience to do so. And, like, to me, I'm like, it's just a little bit concerning to me given – like, I'm honestly a little bit disappointed in Trey Hendrickson given how much of a fit he threw in the offseason. Like, to me, like, the whole holdout from him, it looks like a bust right now. I was like, you played your cards completely wrong, and he's most likely going to get his stuff for the Bengals, and he's going to be done. And you don't want to see that. He's been a great player for the Bengals. He's a fantastic player in his prime, but right now his whole offseason shenanigans has backfired on him.
Yeah, it's not working. We said earlier in the summer that we thought the Bengals defense knew Al Golden DC was really going to favor those safeties and stuff. And it
Mhm.
really relies on the front four to be able to get to the quarterback on their own, to be able to
Yes.
be good enough by yourself to make stuff happen. Because the
Like,
Bengals
they
don't
shouldn't
blitz.
have to have sneak plays from the secondary to
Exactly.
make Bo Nix
Exactly.
move from the pocket.
And the blitzing thing, the lack of blitz doesn't even really bother me that much. But it's the fact that you're putting so much trust in guys who aren't doing anything. That's the problem. If you had four guys that you knew 100% could go and get the quarterback no matter what, we haven't seen that from Myles Murphy. He was a first round pick, man. He's been bad. And it's just frustrating. I mean, maybe you got to blitz more. Maybe you got to take a little bit of pressure off these guys in the secondary because, I mean, even then, they're still not having great seasons. Battle was really kind of a non factor yesterday, and he's the one guy between the two of us that we both have really liked.
Yeah.
It's just, Bengals can't move the ball. It's embarrassing how little they're able to scheme Jamar Chase. Stat lines from yesterday that stuck out to me. Browning 14 for 25, 125 yards. Chase 5 receptions, 23 yards. I don't know how that happens. Higgins 3
Yeah.
receptions, 32 yards in a game where your number one's gonna be locked up. He needs to be the focal point. That's dumb.
Well, that's where I don't understand.
Yeah.
Chase Brown had more receiving yards last night than Jamar Chase did, and he was 2 yards away from passing T. Higgins. Like, if anything, if I'm T. Higgins, I'm going to Jake Browning saying, "Give me the ball." Jamar Chase is gonna be locked down. Pat Surtain's not gonna leave him. I'm gonna be open. I'm a number 1 caliber receiver playing against a number 2 corner. Please get me the ball, and it didn't happen last night.
What was I gonna say? It was about I was just gonna say something that fit all this, but I totally forget. Talking about Chase Brown. Oh, and the way they were running to Higgins too, it was just go, just run, just run, just run. Nothing
Yeah,
across the middle of the field because the Broncos completely took that away. You got to give credit to them. I mean, Vance Joseph,
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
But like, you're just so confusing how the Bengals have operated with all this, which begs the question: how many more wins do you see on this schedule? We look like stupid people when we sat here and we're like the Bengals can go 10-7 even without Joe
Mhm.
Burrow. But I guess we were just totally led astray on how the Bengals offense was going to operate.
Yeah,
And I mean, like, is it time to fire up the mock draft simulator? I was already looking at some stuff today because you just got to familiarize yourself with some of the top college prospects. But, like, I mean, really, what is the spread going to be in this Detroit game? Is it going to be over 2 touchdowns? Like,
and
legitimately.
I'm a little bit scared, I'm not gonna lie, because Detroit has looked very, very
Yeah.
good, and they
So,
are gonna destroy our defense with their run game. They're
and
gonna
then
destroy it.
you look down the line, and then you got the Green Bay game,
Which
and
Green Bay has been a little bit on fraud watch recently, but I still think that that's not a winnable game for us right now.
but it's just nothing is a winnable game, I feel like at this point. I thought
They It's
go ahead.
ridiculous. Like, we talk about, like, to me, like, the biggest thing that, like, I take out of all this, and yeah, I think you said it, is there needs to be a new spark in that locker room. And obviously, we know the management, we know the organization, they're not gonna change coaches, they're not gonna change coordinators. I think the easiest way you fix that is you bring in a new quarterback. There's a handful of backups across the league. I use Jameis because I think he would be the best fit for the offense based on the way that he plays. But there are many backup quarterbacks across the league.
Mhm.
Like, I thought Marcus Mariota has been great this year when he's been called upon for the Commanders. Like, there are guys across the league who will come in, have this explosive firepower, and give you just a shake that this offense desperately needs because they just look like they're just rolling over.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't even look like they're trying. And, like, that's, like, it's that meme where it's the dude with the stick, and it's like, "Do something," and, like,
Yeah.
that's what I feel like sometimes watching the offense. I'm like, "Okay, like, somebody," like, because you can't be relying on your young, unorganized secondary to be making the big plays to stop you from conceding 30 points, and that has went
Mhm.
That is what these games have been. It's how many points are we not going to concede because you see Dax Hill, Demetrius Knight, and these other guys making these big individual plays in our secondary to keep these games close. You shouldn't have to be doing that week after week. Like, and to me, like, obviously the defense still scored points. The fact that Evan McPherson was the leading scorer on the team last night, if I'm anybody on offense, I am pissed. Because your kicker just outscored you, and your kicker only came out one time the entire game.
The first drive of the game.
First drive of the game, and he was the only one that scored.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm just like, there is no commitment. There is no drive. There is not a single person right now on that offensive side of the ball who, we talked about it when Joe Burrow went down, who is going to step up and be the leader that says, you know what? He's not here. I'm going to put it on my back, and we're going to rock. Nobody has stepping up to that pedestal yet. Nobody has. They're all waiting for someone else to do it, and no one's doing it.
Yeah. I think it's a good place to kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah.
I feel like we said last week, times are bleak. You think they'd come back and do it again. It doesn't seem like it's there. The schedule only gets harder.
Yeah.
I mean, Detroit on Sunday. We'll be back with you on Monday to break that whole thing down. I mean, it'd be nice if they could put up some sort of fight so we can have something positive to talk about. But it's difficult trying to spin zone this stuff in a positive way, because I think me and you are both very positive people. But it's really turned into, all right, well, we just have to highlight the Bengals' various mistakes, and it's difficult to see any positives in how this is going right now, especially with how chipper me and you were after that Jacksonville game. It's just bizarre how this is all flipped in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, lucky for fellow Cincinnatians, the Cincinnati Reds are trying to make something happen. They have a fun test in LA this week with the NL wild card. So good on them. But
before we go, predictions. Sure. When do you think, or if do you think they will change quarterbacks? Do you think they will wait until after the Detroit game, or do you think they stick with Browning all year?
I think they just let it rip.
Really?
Yeah, I think Browning's been bad, but I think there's bigger problems, and it's just not worth it. As much as I think I'd rather the Bengals just commit to either kind of just blowing it all up this year and get a top 5 pick than bringing a Jameis or a Russell Wilson and be fun. At some point, you just got to bite the bullet and make it happen that way. Yeah. And it's like me and my friends were talking last night too. We're like, you'd rather just kind of eat it this year and come back next year, I guess, with a healthy Burrow, which we've said in the past. But it's like because really, like, with the ceiling with how this defense works and how the offensive line is, it's like 9-8, which they did last year. So it's like, I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I'd rather them just, I mean, who knows if they beat Detroit? Like, I don't know what's going on. And
I will say, though, if they're going to make a change at quarterback, it needs to either be this week or after next week's game. I think after that, it's too late. Because I was like, oh, when do they have their bye? They don't have their bye until week 10. It's too late to make a change then. I honestly think that if they want to push and get someone new under center, it needs to happen this week or after next week. And that's the decision I think needs to be made. So if we see a change at quarterback, I would believe it would happen in the next 2 weeks. But again, knowing the Bengals organization, they've probably already decided just to ride it out with Jake Browning and Zac Taylor and probably make everyone in Cincinnati angry for the next 2 months. So if it keeps going the way it's going.
That's how it's going to be. We'll definitely have no shortage of things to talk about. The Lions on Sunday, we'll see how that goes. We will be here to talk about it with you next Monday. Our schedule was a little wonky this week with the Monday Night Football fiasco in Denver, but we're here now, and we have a fresh episode for you, and we'll have one here for you in a matter of around a week. So thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Welcome to the Jungle. For Caroline Palmer, my name is Owen Timmerding. Thanks, everyone, and Hoo Day.